All right. So we are out here in Croatia currently. We actually met on this trip, and you are a phenomenal guy at what it is that you do. And what is that like, just for anyone that does not know you, like give the landscape of like who you are, what it is that you're doing, like why we're even here having this conversation right now.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Tyler Baines. I run a marketing agency dedicated for painters. Basically what we're having this conversation about is about systems and ops, right, overall.
Okay.
But it's about how can we have the same experience for every client, and how can we track their progress through each stage, I guess. That's basically what I wanted to go through.
Very well said.
For today.
Yeah, and for anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Rav. I run Black Ops. We're an operations, implementation, and consulting business, and we work with agencies. It's historically been a lot of creative agencies to solve their biggest operational problems that are keeping them from growing. And what you just mentioned is like two of the most common, right? And kind of like the spirit of them that I always speak to is, number one, being able to ensure that there's consistency in output, right? So whether that's creative asset output or performance output, how do we keep that the same across as many people as we can? And then secondly is, how do we make our measurement of success less arbitrary? Mm-hmm. How do we give it a definition so that we have the leverage in place to bring people in that are able to identify without any arbitrary perspective whether or not we are in alignment with what success means. And so these are kind of things that you're currently experiencing that we'll be able to talk through and very likely start to get some initial approach to being able to resolve around. Just so we know kind of the frame of where we're starting at, where's the business at right now?
Yeah, so we're anywhere in between 90 and 100K a month. It's basically 40 clients, give or take, right? Low 40s, high 30s. And yeah, so the team's half a dozen people, right? Okay. So you got one CSM, 2 account managers, myself, EA, and then just basically an integrator. And that's basically the team right now. We have a lot of our project management in Notion, right? And so also like our docs, like our knowledge base.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. We have a little bit of spreadsheets where we're tracking like KPIs for clients. I guess that's where the business is at, if that answers that.
Yeah, for sure. How many clients do you have right now?
Yeah, so it's again like high 30s, low 40s.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
It's around there, yeah.
The reason I gave that look to the cam is because there are 2 platforms that everyone that like knows me and that has worked with me or like followed me for a while, they always like send me memes about these 2. It's Airtable and Notion.
Oh, really?
And what I've always seen with Notion is like Notion scales up to about like 10 people on the team, give or take. I've never seen it be more than that without it being problematic. So that's not surprising to me at all. Are you using Airtable at all?
We are using Airtable, but it's like just for some of my stuff, right? So it's like all my Fathom calls go to Airtable. I was telling you about, right? Yep. So like stuff like that, but nothing crazy.
Got you. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Everything else is on Google Sheets.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. And then you mentioned this to me off cam, but where is it that you were looking to go to?
Yeah, so 500 a month.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Awesome, sweet. Well, one of the big things that I always start with, and I always walk people through this, is I consider the definition of operations to be your means or your ability to most efficiently, predictably, and consistently fulfill on the promises that you make in exchange for money.
Yeah.
And the reason that I always put that definition on the table first is because when people are looking at the operational levers that they can pull to add leverage, oftentimes they put themselves in a position where they're on an uphill battle because they don't realize that there are other levers before you even get into fulfillment that impact your ability to do that. One of the core ones is your offer, right? Like what is your offer kind of oriented and pivoted around? And so for context, as we're going into this, what is the offer, the promise that you're making to the clients that you're working with?
Yeah, so basically we help painting companies get exclusive leads and build their brand within their market. So like a lot of it's personal and creative driven, right? And like creative strategy, I guess, around that, right? In their local market. It's the actual media buying behind it. And then we help with some automation back end, nothing crazy. So a lot of them use like external CRMs, like one's called Drip Jobs. So there's some automation in there. We have some email flows that we built out for them, but nothing like super crazy on that front. So it's more on, we help them get the leads, we help them nurture those leads, and then we give them like, I guess, ways to make more money on the leads. So like some email promos, helping them get more reviews out of those leads or those sales, right? Stuff like that, I guess.
Okay, it's pretty widespread, which I like.
Yeah,
You
I
have a
mean,
lot of
like
touch
it's
points.
more on the meta ad side, right? And like actually generating the leads, qualifying them, getting them on the calendar. So you build a little couple landing pages here and there, and for them to schedule, and then yeah, we have all the nurture systems and the back end.
Nice. So kind of core area of focus, and then you have some ancillary additions that support that.
Yeah, so that's the core offer, and then there's some upsells, right? So we help with local SEO, which is telling you a little bit more about Search Atlas there.
Yep,
And then
yep.
we have a web dev, so build websites.
What is so when someone comes to you, they're like, hey, I want to pay you money. Is it oriented around the service as far as how you're offering with them? Like, hey, we're going to do this for you on a monthly basis. Is it oriented around outcome? Hey, we're going to get you here. We're going to get you this result.
Yeah, so like a lot of them are, let's say like my ICP is doing like 50 to 100 a month. Typically it's like they want to double. So if that's 50, they want to go to 100, or it's 200.
Got you.
Right, a month. Anything lower than that, they're typically not making enough money. Anything more than that, I mean, yeah, we still get some, but there's not a lot of painting companies that are doing like 10 million a year.
Yeah, so that doubling is kind of like the North Star.
That's what
objective.
they want.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
and a lot of it's word of mouth referral. So like, especially these guys, they typically grow in their business just word of mouth referral.
Yep.
And so like this is their first paid ad source.
Got you.
Right. So they want more leads and more consistency within their business.
Got you. Let's say, what's your average term of how long someone is working with you all?
Yeah, our churn's like 7% right now.
Nice. Okay, it's very good. And as you're working with someone, moving through on the month to month, monthly basis, or are you on a term agreement?
Depends. I mean, we have different terms, right, that like we've tested out, but anywhere from like 3 to 6 months is typical.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is what they want. Is there a point between where they're at when they come to you and the future state that you are helping support them towards, that you are anchoring around? Is it this doubling? Could it be something else?
It's this doubling,
Okay.
but over like, it's not like over a 6 month period. It's over like
Right.
yearly periods, right? So like, okay, by the end of 2026, you want to be at 100. You're at 50. How are we going to get there, right? And so we like on the sales calls, we typically work the numbers back. Okay, so you have, say your average job size is 5K, you need to add 50K, you need 10 projects. Okay, you close at 33%, you need 30 quotes,
Gotcha.
right? Like rough math wise. Say you book 50% of your leads into quotes, it's pretty typical for home service, you need 60 leads. Okay, you need 60 leads.
Got you.
That is the outcome. Now, I tell them very clearly, if you cannot close at this, you cannot produce this,
Yeah.
we will not get to this.
Yeah.
But if you can do that, we're good.
Understood.
We can handle this portion.
I love that. You do a much better job of that than a lot of the agencies that I work with, I can already tell, which is amazing. With that being just the framing around that and the clarity of, hey, this is the next steps that are going to get you to the outcome that you want. This is kind of how we work backwards to be able to make those happen. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So the two areas that you identified as kind of like the biggest bottlenecks to you being able to get to your 500 a month, that's going to be tracking, as you said. So being able to, at scale, measure the inputs, outputs of your clients that you're getting, and then being able to secure the consistency from client to client. We've done a lot with adjacent agencies to yours to support both. I think that tracking would probably be one of the better places to start because it will support you being able to create that consistency. I presume you're tracking like the usual metrics right now for the entirety of the media buying process, but you're also tracking some of what happens after ad is displayed, correct?
Yeah, so let me explain this. So basically this, no matter what, we can check, right?
Yeah.
Like we can track how many leads they're getting. That's for sure. The second piece is how many quotes they book. So this is where some of the drop off is. As I was telling you, some of them use external CRMs, right? So one of them is Drip Jobs, Paint Scout, there's a bunch of different ones, right? So home service, CRMs, okay? Now, if we get the integration of this, we're good. We can track how many quotes they book.
Are there instances where they are hesitant to give you that integration?
I mean, not much.
Okay.
No, like most of them will give them this, and then this is the piece. Like these two pieces, if we know these, we're good because we know how good lead quality is. Okay, if they're booking 60 leads into 30 quotes, and we're spending, say, $50 for this, $100 quotes, $300 deals, average job size 5K,
Boom.
we're golden.
Yeah.
Now, it's when we don't know this, they get $50 leads, they're booking 10%, then that's $500 per quote, $1,500 per job.
Yeah.
And for a home service business, they're typically operating like 50% GP, gross profit.
Yeah.
So $2,500 profit, $1,500 that's marketing expense. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Or bleep that out. But you know what I mean, right? So that's where we lose clients, especially in the first couple of months if we don't have those proper integrations. Because they're like, oh, our team is like, oh, you're doing great. You're getting a bunch of leads. You're getting, 60, 70, 80 leads, where we think, okay, you're making 50K.
Yeah.
Right? Versus they're getting 10K out of that.
Right.
But we don't know. And so we have calls like with our clients checking on this stuff, but sometimes they're not as open.
Yeah.
Right about it. And so the cold hard data is what really matters too.
Yeah.
Because you can use that as leverage.
Yeah.
Right? So
I'm glad
I guess
you said that.
yeah, it's how can we have consistency within this data?
Yeah.
Right? And like that way. And then how can we also like, for example, is there a way for us to use any kind of automation to auto look at these leads?
Yeah.
Because I can look at 15 leads, say weekly they generated 15 leads. If I look at them and it's like John Smith, John Smith, John Smith, John Smith, I'm like, I know personally, but I have to manually check that.
Yeah.
So is there a way to analyze that?
Yeah.
Do you see where I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. So a couple of things here, right? This is going to be some architectural approach to data management that will help you with specifically being able to integrate all of these easily across the board, and also get you more visibility of trends across the board and individual insights for each of your clients. So you mentioned off camera that as of now, you are doing all of your integration with these within your agency's automation account, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
There's actually nothing wrong with that. If they already had existing automation accounts, I might tell you to lean into those. But if you're doing it all within yours, I presume that as of now, every client that comes on, you're doing some setup. You mentioned that you have Zapier templates that you're using.
Yeah, so it takes the team a little bit. That's also the part, like where onboarding takes quite a while. So because there's these integrations and it's back and forth, like, hey, like this test works, right? And then it's making sure going back and forth, okay, this did work. Is this what you wanted?
Yep.
Right? And so because everybody's different, they're like, no, I don't want every lead to be put in my quoting software. I want every quote to be put in my quoting software.
Understood.
So there's some nuance to every client. And the problem is in month one, like we're not getting as much clarity as we need, I guess, on that. We're also not wanting to ask like a million questions on an onboarding form, you know what I mean? And so it's just trying to balance that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so one of the things that I'll leave with you is all of the Zaps that you're going to be rendering for a client, right? Some of them are going to be exclusively for their own customized desires, right? What you just outlined, hey, we don't want every lead in, we want every quote, because that's what we've been doing, right? That's a desire of theirs, right? A need of yours is having all of that data flow through in such a way that you can see it. And as of right now, the way that you're doing it is you have all of these Zaps that are relevant to an individual client that you're standing up every time that you onboard somebody from templates, right? So you're not having to do it fully from scratch. But what this looks like can change based on those desires from your client. You might not be getting all of the leads pushed through just the quotes, right?
But I'm getting the data back, you're saying. I need to have the data back no matter what.
You need to have all of that data some way accessible to you, regardless of what the customization looks like for them. And that needs to be part of your consistent deliverable or implementation for your own sake and for theirs, right? Because that helps you get better results for them.
Right.
So what we'll do typically, I'll give you a perfect example, and this will actually speak to one of the other things that we mentioned. So we had a client that we were working with. They were working with about 30 roofing companies. They have to do their media buying for them. Their reporting architecture looked very similar to this. They had a Zap for every single ad account, and it was insert ad account, select the ad account, and then they were pushing it through to a spreadsheet, and that's how they were getting the data.
Do they have one central sheet?
They did not. Well, they did, but it was manually added to, right? So they weren't, because every time they had a new client on board, they needed to go and like add it to that sheet and then get their ad account information and like put it in, whatever. We did put it all into one central automation. So we have one automation. So here's what I'll say. Client 1, client 2, client 3, client 4, right? Each of these has unique ad account ID.
Yep.
Are you getting access to your clients' ad accounts?
Yeah.
Or are they,
Yeah.
you're standing it up for them?
No, we're getting access. So like we use, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Leadsy.
Yep.
Yeah, we use Leadsy, so we walk them through that full process, we get full access, and then we have an onboarding form, which then like kicks off all our apps right now.
Understood. So what we did is we get all of these ad accounts within our business manager. We get that access.
Yep.
But instead of having a Zap set up for each one of those, in our onboarding process, we have a database where every bit of unique identifying information about a client is stored, right? We refer to that as a lookup table.
Right.
So all of these numbers get added into our lookup table. And then we have one automation that is looking at, hey, X variable being one of these numbers. I want you to cycle through all of them and then add them into, I'm just gonna call this our report,
Okay.
right? So I want you to add that into our reporting sheet. The way that goes is we just have a search function as our trigger point, and it says, hey, every single day or every other day, whatever cadence you want, I want you to search. For us, we'll do this in an Airtable, we'll do this in a Google Sheet. I want you to search that and return with all of these ad account IDs. And then I want you to go into what would be the Facebook, the meta analytics or the Facebook ads manager function in Zapier or in make.com.
Yep.
And then that becomes an input pass-through variable to that second step. So that is cycling through and looking at every single one of these unique account informations and running the function of, hey, what has the lead collection been over the last 7 days? Or what
Does
was
it get
for
the ad
last
spend
24?
and all that stuff?
All of it,
All
whatever
of
it
it.
is that you want.
Okay.
Conversion data, all of that. Now, while it's here, right, we find, because this started out in the lookup table, even beyond the unique ad account ID, what we also have in the lookup table is, hey, which row in our spreadsheet is for this client, right? Or which table in this spreadsheet or which page represents an individual client. We have all of that get created when we set up the onboarding for the client, when they set up our, go through our onboarding form or whatever that might be, so that it will automatically be added in the lookup table.
Got it.
So we can always reference back to it anytime that we want to have this congruency of data correlated between like where the data came from and who we know it to be in our system. So it'll find that page and then it'll add it into its report. This can
Okay.
also be an Airtable, this can be in one Google Sheet, but it gives three primary benefits. The first is that your team does not need to spend all the time required to do any of this. Whatever time that is, you no longer need to do it.
Got it.
The second is that you now own all of the data, regardless of the unique desires of your client. You can still fulfill on those to the degree that you please, right?
Yeah.
But it's not coming at the compromise of your ability to serve them at the highest level.
Okay.
The third is that now you have all of the data at a high level across all of your clients in real time, any given moment.
I have a
now
question
you can start
around
to see
it.
trends. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question around it. How do we add so this is Facebook.
Yep.
How do we add the quote data and the sales data?
Yeah, great question.
So like this is the unique identifier. How do we tie this into that? So that I'm assuming this is a client identifier at this point.
This
of sorts.
Yeah, for sure. There is a identifying element there, yeah.
Okay, so let's say that is, how do we tie the quotes and the sales to that, to where that could be in that report?
Great question. We do the same exact thing, but instead of it being for Facebook, now we're gonna do it for whatever platform it is that somebody is using for their quote data. So you mentioned that there are a couple of different ones that any of your clients are using.
Yeah, so would it have to be, so let's say it's Drip Jobs is one of the CRMs.
Sure.
Okay, so would it be, we have to feed Drip Jobs to a separate Airtable, and then that Airtable is always going to be the quote data, right? And so like, because we could feed the same data from different CRMs to one central hub.
Correct.
Would that be the best way to do it?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
you would have all of your client data getting stored into that one place, right? Regardless of the source. You're standardizing it on the way in because the actual data value is going to be the same. How it's represented and how it's sent via the automation might look a little bit different. But the problem that you'll experience right now, and that you would become increasingly problematic as you scale, is that creates all of these decision trees for your team, right? Because you have a new client come in, and now your team has to ask the question, okay, well, which of these CRMs are they using?
Yeah, exactly.
Because
That's
then based on that, this integration looks like this one looks like that. This
So
one's
what do you
different.
think about just like saying, no more, there's two options, that's it?
I don't have a problem with this being a wide breadth. It really just depends on how much of it, is it an exception or is it a rule? If the rule for the industry is that they're using this big three, and then you just have like 15% of clients that are using this other smaller one for one random reason, the only reason that I would lean into it is because that is not something that you would be leaning into for the sake of appeasing them. It would be something that impacts your
it helps.
ability.
It helps our churn, right?
Correct.
Because if we know how many leads, quotes, and sales they have, we know when to fix shit.
Of course.
Because if they have, again, like if I use this example, they have 8 leads and say their cost per lead is double that, right? So let's say that in this example is $50. This example is $100, but they book 100% into quotes. Same shit.
Yeah.
They get 8 quotes.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
But if a media buyer just sees this and they say, oh, our KPI is X dollars.
Right. Right. And we saw that happen with a roofing company. I would say go for it, because if you have the infrastructure set up in the way that we just described, that case, if it's 15% of the time, as long as you build that time into your margin as you currently have, then most of the time, that's just going to be extra free money.
Okay.
But if it's not, you aren't having to dip into your margin to be able to accommodate for that extra setup.
Got it.
Even if it's like a one-off case, again, it'll be enough, or it'll be justified by the fact that you protected for it and that it has this ongoing waterfall effect of what you're able to do as a service and as a results provider. But most of the time, we just want to accommodate. If you can accommodate for 70% of those cases up front, you're pretty good to go.
Okay.
Now, if you told me that they don't have an integration with like Zapier, or if they don't have,
There's like the 5% there.
then in that case, I would say that that's up to you.
Yeah.
I would not look at you crazy if you trended against that.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And like, that's actually what we've been doing. We say, hey, if we can't get the data, then like we can't.
Yeah, that's
help.
good. No, that is very good. So this is one of those things that'll make getting that data way easier. You just route them all to one central location. It also allows you to do really easy bespoke reporting or customized reporting for each of your clients. You just kind of filter for every individual client, but then you still get those insights across the board. And that is where the AI analysis can kind of come through as well. If you have all of your leads data coming through and it's stored in one central location, you can still filter per individual, set that up in one automation, very similar architectural approach to what we outlined here, which would be, hey, all of our unique client identifiers, every week or every day, I want you to go through all of the leads that we got within the last 7 days and analyze them for duplication or for hypersimilarity. And if you see that, flag it, and now you have an automatic escalation process that doesn't require you or your head media buyer to be going through.
Because that's what they're doing, right? It's like, that's where the disconnect is because our client says, hey, well, you're the only guys getting us leads, and we saw the last 7 leads are John Smith, John Smith, John Smith, or they're like fake phone numbers, and like, obviously fake phone numbers, that's not a lead, right? And so and you see what I'm saying here. And the media buyer doesn't have time to go through every single lead for every single account. And if they did, then we might get better results, but it's hard to do that.
The 2 things that I'll say there is, number 1, set expectation around the fact that that will happen, because it will, but give it definition. Hey, out of the leads that we get you, like you could do it one of 2 ways. You could take the onus upon yourself to filter those out before they ever reach client, or you could just accept that there will be a standard degree of deviation of quality, put that on the table, measure against it, show them what that is.
So we do right here at the 50%.
Fantastic.
You're not going to even get in contact. Like if they get in contact with 50%, they book 50% of the quotes, we're good.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, if you're setting the expectation on that then, and you have the numbers on it.
We have the numbers.
Then you're golden
on the clients we track.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying here.
Right.
Okay, so that makes sense.
The second thing that I will say to that is, as you are bringing folks through the fold in that way, when it comes to getting all of that lead data and being able to like qualify it out, what we did was give, in the roofing company example that I gave you, we had an automatic loose kind of a performance qualification or assessment that was also AI, where we had our standards for, all right, what is a CPA that we want to be flagging for, right? So we ran a red, yellow, green. CPA plus lead distance or location plus... you
do income? Like income per zip code? Then you'd have to have a large database.
If it was, we did not, but for some markets, we did have a hot list of red and green zip codes, just so that we could kind of quality rate. But you'll just want to have some soft assessment on what the performance has been per account over the last, we did it based off of the last 3 days. It was a trailing 3 days. And so if we got this many leads, if we got 0 leads, automatically red account.
Yeah, of course.
If we got, I want to say it was between 10 and 15, that was a factor of our ranking, as well as what the cost per lead was. And I think we left it that loose in that case. You could go a little bit tighter. It really just depends on what your criteria is. Like you mentioned earlier, media buying is as much an art as it is like a science. And so I don't like to go too tight on that. Same with any creative output variability, right? Or output deliverable. So I would definitely do that as well. That'll add a lot of the leverage for your team to be able to know, without having to go and check every individual account, if there's something glaringly wrong, or if there's someone that is just absolutely crushing it that you need to be approaching to upsell.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So that helps on the tracking piece. And then I guess the last part is like, how do we keep this consistent? That's with these, I'm assuming it's this.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I guess everything else, like client results wise, this will cover then.
Largely, yeah. If you're able to bridge the gaps on what you're seeing within a client's ecosystem.
So all comes back to tracking then.
A lot of it does, yeah. And the means within which you're tracking and what insights you're able to extract from that are going to dramatically change as you change the way that you